Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar Incident versus Problem: How to Differentiate and Manage It. My name is Tobias Schroeder, and I'm an International Product and Market Manager here at SoftExpert. Today's webinar will be presented by Mr. Gus Oliveira, who is an International Product and Market Manager at SoftExpert with over 10 years experience in the financial and business development field, working in large companies both in the United States and in Brazil as a financial analyst, business strategy consultant, and a project consultant. Gus has a degree in business administration as well as a degree in economics from the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. Hello, Gus.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Tobias. So let's start off by talking about why people contact the IT department. People contact the IT department for three reasons. One, because something doesn't work, okay? Something is broken. They can't connect to something. Devices aren't functioning. Software doesn't work. When IT hears that, they think of an incident, which is what we're going to focus on today. Another reason why they contact IT department is because they need information, okay? They want to learn something. They want to learn, for example, how do I reset my password? Or how do I save a document on the server? And when IT hears that, they think of knowledge. So there's knowledge management. Lastly, is because they want something, okay? They need something new. They need a new computer, a new mouse. They need to install new software and so on. These are things that are not essential to their current capabilities, but they are enhancements to what they've got today. And when IT hears that, they think of a request. So we react to these queries and do our best to support the business, but the business looks at incident management, which again is what we're going to focus on today, a little bit different than IT does most of the time. So what is incident response? Okay, incident response means that every time there's a rupture in service, IT has failed to maintain a continual service. Okay, incident response involves a significant IT resources, and it also seems mostly focused on exonerating it. We see a lot of organizations that have implemented our solutions that are extremely proud of the quality and of the speed of the response team, okay? And that skill and professionalism is really to be commended. But it's also like, if you're gonna buy a new tire because every time you drove down Main Street on your city, you got a flat, okay? The response to that flat tire is to buy more tires. That doesn't really resolve the source of the problem, okay? So, for example, how many of you work for companies where someone like the VP of sales goes to the CIO and commends them for how great they are at restoring service that has been disrupted and fights for a bigger bonus for that CIO because they're so quick at restoring service, you know? Probably not many of you. So now, let's dig a little bit deeper into incident management issue that we have here. Incident management is all about making things work again, okay? So turning that red light to a green light, okay? And that's it. That's the role of incident management. Now, IT people often joke and say, well, something always breaks, you know? There's nothing we can do about it. We can't change that, which is absolutely true. But there are companies that work hard to get around that, okay? For example, some companies offer unbelievable levels of availability. For all intents and purposes, the level of outages are so low that they are almost unmeasurable. So it's essentially a continuous availability. They don't do it because their incident management is necessarily better than anybody else's or their hardware or software is better, okay? They just have excellent design and they utilize their technical capabilities of what they've got and they carefully bound areas of the delivery. So what is incident management? As we go deeper into incident management, you got to remember that incident management is focused on here and now, okay? It's a response to a certain situation. It's highly tactical, reactive, and it's the response to failure of IT to sustain service delivery to the business, okay? Now, failure is a very harsh word. And a lot of times when I use this to describe it, people get a little bit uncomfortable saying, hey, we're not failing, we're doing the best we can. The reason why I continue to use the word failure, and I'm going to use it today, is because responding to failure is the purpose of the incident management, okay? Just like the purpose of a spare tire in your car is to be there in case you get a flat, okay? That's its role. Now, what happens if you're the best at incident management, okay? What happens if you're the number one at incident management process company in the world? What does that mean to your customers? If you're the best, you generally aren't reducing the frequency of incidents, okay? You're not reducing the volume of those incidents, okay? You're not avoiding self-inflicted incidents, which is where you make changes and do other things that cause those incidents, okay? You're not preventing the same incident from occurring over and over again. And because of all of those, you're not building user trust. Now, getting good incident management has a great benefit, You may get better at responding to that particular kind of incident, but unfortunately, one of the things that we see way too much is that IT celebrates success in incident management or quick restorations. But the problem is that IT often celebrates what is a major accomplishment to IT, okay, whether or not it is important to the business, and then wonder why customers don't get excited about it, okay? The reason is that IT gets on the wrong thing. Unfortunately, IT still has a tendency to look at the world inside out, okay? Here's what IT's got, okay? Here's what IT does. Okay, customer, what do you want? And that's completely backwards, okay? You need to take a look at this world from the outside in. What does the customer need, What are the critical success factors for the customer? What is really important to that customer? And based on that, figure out how to do it, okay? Maybe you're set on a certain way on how to do it, but regardless of what it is, you've got to figure out how to meet that customer's need. Because one of the things that happens is that if you are, or if you have inappropriate celebrations or you pump things up way too much, and honestly, we've seen this happen way too many times, for your quick restorations, customers are going to take that very, very poorly, okay? And things can always get worse, Like when you add the word root to front of the causation, that's a recipe for a real set of confusion. So let's talk about root cause, okay? Because root cause is a umbrella term. At a concept level, root cause is very straightforward, okay? And it's the underlying or the original cause of an incident or problem. But root cause is kind of a holdover, a little bit from the old days. One of the reasons why this creates some confusion in the communication issue is that you got to remember that communication is in the mind of the recipient, okay? So it doesn't matter what you write, how you write it, the medium you use, or how often you use it. Communication takes place in the mind of the person who receives all of that, okay? And if they perceive something different from how you intended it, then sorry, it just doesn't matter. Because they're going to fill in any gaps there are in order to understand with things that are in their favor, okay? So it's very important that you are very explicit and very clear as to what root cause means if you're going to use this word, root cause. In our experience, incident root cause and problem root cause are generally different things, okay? We find that in general, incident root cause tend to be more system-oriented or technology-oriented, whereas a problem root cause tends to be much more people-oriented, okay? And we're going to get into that a little bit later when we start getting into the difference between the two. But it means that because these are kind of different, we see a lot of confusion going on here, okay? And incorrectly, this sets expectations for one root cause is going to deliver over the other. Okay, now, incidents and problems, they have unique causes, okay? Incidents have a trigger event, okay? It's the, what was the trigger cause of an event? And the keyword here being what triggered the outage, okay? As for problems, I look at the ultimate event or the final cause, okay? It's really a question of what was the ultimate cause of the disruption, okay? Why was the outage triggered? So the key differentiator that we have here that makes it easier for people to understand this difference is that incidents are what happened and problems are why did it happen, okay? Because you got to remember the incidents end state is turning that KPI light from red to green, while the problems end state is potentially remediating that why. So let's talk now a little bit about problems. Problem management has a very low visibility to business leaders because they have a difficult time separating it from incident management, okay? Problem management takes some time to do it properly, and a lot of time they just don't want to wait. There's also a concern in some places amongst leadership that problem management is just about finger pointing, okay? Who's the guilty person? Or who can we punish for this? And probably one of the things that really holds it back is that problems are preventative. The purpose is to prevent things from happening, okay? But let's dig a little bit deeper into problem management and see what we've got here. So what is problem management? Problem management is kind of like the first responders, or let's say the police officers responding to a crime, okay? Problem is like the detectives or the CSI or the crime scene investigator, okay? The people that try to figure out why did that crime happen, okay? Although they are connected and have a strong relationship, they are very different and they need to be kept separate, okay? Problem is concerned about investigating, okay, and remediating it. It's about why something happened and how to remediate it and tracking that remediation all the way to completion. Now, it can be incident driven, it can be dormant problems, almost anything can generate a problem, and it's not just reactive, okay? You can be very proactive. But at its core, it's about preventing future incidents. And that's why you can show real returns to problems by by watching the number of incidents go completely down. To be successful in problem management, you gotta not focus on success or failures during service disruption, okay? Because that's just gonna lead to finger pointing, okay? What you gotta remember is that you're there to discover the why, okay? You'll get the solution a lot quicker if you just depersonalize it and focus on your goal. You've also got to ensure you report on what was learned, okay? On why, and then that's going to become an addition to your knowledge base. And you got to work with a talented and committed team, okay? Don't be afraid to have the appropriate level of involvement by people, okay? Don't do the work in secrecy also. Doing the work in secrecy makes people fear and makes people extremely, extremely uncomfortable, okay? And when that happens, they become nervous, and you're gonna need all of the help you need so you can get this done effectively. The ultimate root cause can be very hard to identify. Sometimes there are multiple root causes, which always confuses people. Problem management sometimes, they forget that the objective is not creating more metrics, okay? The objective is always prevention. If too many problems are being analyzed, okay, problem management will not work. And when there's a lack of information, or there's a lack of information sharing, and there are no well-defined processes, the process will also collapse, okay? Now, there are a whole bunch of methodologies you can use to structure your problem management, but just remember, people, process, and tools, okay? These three words are in that order for a reason, and those are the most important to your least important. Okay, so now here we have some of the different tools you can use to help you in your problem analysis. The one that you use is often a product of your process maturity, but you gotta keep it all in perspective and understand that one of the worst things you can do is say, oh, we'll use the 5 whys or the fishbone analysis for all of our problems, okay? You do not want to try to force reality to fit into your concept, okay? What you want to do is you want to steal and borrow pieces and parts and use whatever it takes to get to the right solution, okay? You may need to steal a little bit from each one of these. And remember, you obviously gotta balance your responses, your constraints, your timeline, and things like that, okay? Tools are really the reason why problem management fails. So you gotta have the appropriate tools and the appropriate process in order to do this. Now, most problem management fails because they're missing one thing, okay? They're missing a senior leader. You have got to have that, okay? When you pitch problem management to your senior leadership, you're gonna get, one of these three answers usually. They may say, no, don't do it, we don't want it. Or they may say, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, and we're not gonna get it in the way, or we're not gonna get in the way. Just make it happen, which this year is probably the worst response of all the possible answers. Or the third answer you might get is, your senior leadership might say, yes, we gotta have this, I'm gonna make it one of my goals and the goals of my subordinates, and I will help you sell this, So this is the response that you wanna get from a senior leader, okay? Now, like I said, if you get the middle answer, that's pretty much a no, You've got to insist on something other than that. The easiest way to tell if leadership is serious about problem management is to look at the performance goals, okay? If there's nothing in there about problem management, they're not really serious about it. And like I said, problem management does take time, okay? And you have to follow through with your mitigation plan as well as your documentation of all of your findings, okay? But one of the things that will sink problem management very quickly is if you try to put every incident through. So what you want to do is you want to filter it and categorize it, okay? Usually there are 2 filters you can use, okay? One of them is asking yourself, is this, worth considering it? And then is, you might want to ask yourself, can we and should we fix it, okay? So how do you filter problem management? Here's one example of how to filter problem management. Now, of course, these 6 items are just what, we use it as a starter. You can and you should, add your own according to your particular situation. Now, here on the left, we have a few streams of problem management coming in, and the first thing we do is ask ourselves, should we investigate this? In order to decide that, here are 3 things you might want to look at, okay? First thing, is it a one and done problem, okay? Is it going to happen once and is it, never going to happen again? Secondly, is it not possible? There's no forensic data to manage this problem. And third, do we have the skills and the resources to manage this problem, okay? Depending on what your answers are to these questions, you don't ignore the problem completely, okay? Instead, what you do is you move them to your recommendation pool here at the bottom of the screen, where you will periodically monitor these problems, okay? Now, once you finish identifying your problem, you will then go into the remediation filter, which is where you'll decide if you want to take any action, because maybe it's, a low risk, okay? Or maybe the ROI is too low. Or maybe there's just, a low chance of reoccurrence. And you see, just because you found the why doesn't necessarily mean you have to remediate it, okay? So now here, these are the categories that we find that works, really, really well. So first we have the group, okay, which are, the people in the organization. Next up we have the source, which is, was this a people thing, a process, a tool, technology, or a system design problem? Okay, what do I mean by that? People, were there errors, skill gaps, failure to follow a process, or a lack of focus? As it pertains to process, was there an inadequate process or lack of a process? Inaccurate process or an obsolete process. Regarding tools and technologies, were there failures in environments, okay? Missing or obsolete or inadequate tools. And as for design, okay, I'm talking about environmental designs, okay, or inadequate capabilities, failures in customizations. Next up, we have the activity. What was going on when the problem happened? Was it a project change, an operational change, a capacity limit, or a system failure? By project change, were there changes driven by a project activity? Okay, generally adding new functionality or capabilities. Operational changes, okay, were there changes driven by life cycle, maintenance, operational or optimization activities? Capacity limit, systems operating correctly but exceeding the valuable or the available capacity. Were there system failures? Did the system cease working? Then lastly, we have the item or the who was involved with it. Was it a third party? Was it an application? Was it infrastructure? Was it something where you did customization or some sort of configuration? So by third party, what do I mean? I mean, was it an outsourced service or was it an outside vendor? Was it commercial and custom software solutions providing services and capabilities? Was it physical and virtual hardware enabling operating software? Or was it configuration, errors in OTB, tuning performed without customizations and tools to accomplish this? So this is a good way to start filtering because you can categorize all of your potential candidates. Rather, you evaluate them and they should go into problem, or evaluate them and decide that you should remediate them. Having them in categories provides you with an incredible amount of information to decide what's worth doing and what's not. So, as we've seen in the webinar so far, incident management is not problem management. While they do need to be connected, they also need to be distinct so we don't make the mistake of trying to have the same team do both. When you operationalize incident management, you need to focus on service delivery and on how you can make service delivery as continuous as possible. The quality of your incident ticket is absolutely critical. We've seen terrible incident tickets that will say in the description something like, "Oh, fix Gus's computer." That tells you absolutely nothing. You need to actually have as much detail as possible. In fact, your service desk supervisor at the end of the day should audit your tickets, okay, just to make sure that they are complete and comprehensive. Benchmark your performance. Benchmarking is great. It shows you how well you've improved, and if you're not improving, it tells you where you need to improve. Also, consider very carefully the person doing incident management. It's a very important kind of job, and you need to have the right kind of person to do it. You need somebody who has the ability to have the right and has the right kind of communication with every single senior people, and you also need to have a person that thrives in a high pressure environment. Now, when you operationalize problem management, the most important thing to have is that senior leader on your side that is absolutely committed to the process of problem management. Consider the role and the person running problem management. Problem management is very collaborative. It's a collaborative decision. It's very thoughtful oriented. It's very intellectually oriented. It's the, why did this happen? Again, you want to benchmark and report. You should absolutely 100% always benchmark and report. And above all else, filter and focus. Doing a great job on one great problem will have, far more and greater effects than doing 100 problems, poorly. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, managing your incidents and your problem properly is extremely, extremely critical to the success of an organization. And most importantly is that you got to have the right tools. With the right tools, your incident and your problem analysis process can be a lot easier. One of the tools that SoftExpert that we have in our solutions portfolio is the IT service management solution, which includes our incident and problem management modules. SoftExpert's ITSM is a very powerful but yet easy to use modular and cost-effective ITIL-based software suite for automating and improving IT service requests, incident and problem management, configuration management, and all the way to IT human resources. Our solution allows organizations of all sizes and in every single industry to improve their IT governance, to optimize service levels, boost productivity, and reduce related costs, all while aligning IT infrastructure management with their strategic business objectives. The solution, or our software, it incorporates ITIL and other widely adopted best practice frameworks, integrating service requests, incidents and problem management, configuration management, and IT human resource management all in a single platform, therefore bringing together the best management practices and the best technology. Our incident and problem management tools, it automates the entire incident and problem management lifecycle through a configurable workflow engine, ensuring critical IT service continuity. Our analytical reports provides accurate, relevant, and timely information in order to act and to ensure compliance and business continuity.
Thank you, Gus, and thanks to all of you who took part in this presentation. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch with Gus, please email him at gustavo.oliveira@softexpert.com. For more webinars, please visit our website www.softexpert.com. See you next time.